Hi YouTube, it's me, Serial Eater. I was trying to find a really good novella to read this week because I had to just adjust my whole schedule. And the book that I found is Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. If you want to buy this book or any of the books that are reviewed in my channel, you can always use my affiliate link in the description below. It helps the channel and supports independent bookstores. I know this author is really popular and I've never picked up one of his books before this one. And I would say this one has changed my mind on if I would ever pick up a future book from him because I sure did really love this book a lot. So you're about to listen to me gush for a while. Hands down, I do think this was my favorite read of the year. It really stapled that Stephen Graham Jones might be someone that I look into for future reading lists because I don't have a single book from him on my TBR. If you guys have suggestions, please let me know. Please, please. This is a novella length book. It's like barely 100 pages, but the story kind of reads itself. So we're following our protagonist, if you want to call him that, Sawyer, and his friends play a prank on his friend, and everything just starts spiraling out of control. And Sawyer says in the first paragraph of the book that everyone is dead and he feels guilty. For novella length books, they're not spoiler free. So if you're not interested in spoilers, go read this book. It's short and it's worth a little bit of time. I would say if you're not interested in teenage lingo or drama or stuff like that, this book might not be for you, but it's so steeped in nostalgia that you might enjoy it anyways. It's written very much from a conversational narrative that it's just a quick read. Read it like a friend is telling you a story, or maybe even a teacher, because Jones is a teacher, and the main character will often ask if that makes sense, as if to keep your attention and to question if you understood what was just said. Sawyer and his friends attempt to play a prank on Shauna, one of the, obviously I said this before, but the other group's friend who is currently trying to work to fix the like side lawn on their house because these teenagers did something stupid and harmed the lawn. They put a mannequin that the group had found in previous years named Manny in a seat. And because these guys are just like stupid teenagers, they had gotten in trouble before for sneaking in because of Shauna. They did it again to kind of play a trick on her. And then, like, it's more like playing a trick on her boss because they were trying to, like, scare him or whatever. They put him in the middle. Someone reports that there's a bunch of kids in there because they report themselves. And then the usher comes in, checks all their tickets, and then walks out. And the usher didn't think twice to like question why there's a clothed mannequin in the theater. He just had a ticket and it was fine. What really kind of sets Sawyer off is that this mannequin, quote unquote, walks out of the theater with everybody else. And that's when Sawyer starts spiraling. What I want to do is I don't want to go into this story beat for beat because I kind of want to more analyze what's going on because it's worth the analyzing, I guess. There were a few things that popped out in the text for me, especially he's talking about himself and he describes himself like twitching and jerking around, and he says it was the third day of forgetting my meds. It kind of gives a good glimpse into this man's brain. Well, teenage man. He's graduating high school, so I assume he would have to be already 18 years old, if not turning 18, so man. But he mentions that they tamp down his nerves. I think there's something heavily wrong with Sawyer. I'm not a professional, so I can't diagnose him. There's no diagnosis here. But there's something wrong with him. Clearly, something wrong with him. Because he watches this thing walk out of the theater and then proceeds to kill his friend. And that kind of it's pretty concerning. The whole thing with the mannequin, it's what kind of lights the fuse for this weird spiral that he's going to go into, which is like the actual thing that lights this fuse for Sawyer is that his friend Shauna dies. A truck goes through her house, kills her family, and because Sawyer is such an unreliable narrator, you really don't get a full understanding of like what's real and what's not. He hears about his friend dying from a horrible accident, and that's kind of like where it all starts. And honestly, this is true horror where it's a serial killer who is completely uncontrollable. Sawyer does this whole thing where he goes and gets a mask for himself that's like mannequin shaped, and he believes because after Shauna died and his whole like her whole family dies with her, he has to go and kill all his friends to spare families from the deaths of these people. And it's just it seems like he's just unable to like rein it back in and understand like he's going through it. It's kind of sad because you can see there are times where Sawyer just acts like a normal teenage boy, like where Danielle, one of his childhood friends, gets a new boyfriend and Sawyer calls the dude's car a wimpmobile, and I thought that was kind of funny, and it just has like this like genuine like teenager feel to it. But on the flip side of that coin, he goes into this extremely graphic description about how to scramble the brains like through your nose, and then like he's like, oh, it wouldn't go good through the ears. This is how people used to get lobotomies through their nose. And it's not like that a history teacher would describe how you do with mummies, how they used to mummify humans back in Egypt when they take their brain out of their nose and, mummify them or whatever. It was like someone who looked up on the internet how lobotomies worked. Horrible because that was his intended use. His intended use was to lobotomize one of his friends before killing him. And it just shows that there's something horribly wrong with this guy. He's not an idiot. Like, he's not stupid. He's in a lot of advanced placement classes. And there's even a line that states Einstein was what his friends were calling him since he started AP courses, which his mom said would calm him down and keep his brain from clicking on other stuff instead of being obsessed with all the wrong stuff. And then having to recount it for whoever would listen, literally us. We're listening to him obsess over the wrong stuff right now. The whole book is just him obsessing over the wrong stuff because he's obsessed with Manny. Once you get out of like school, especially like a structured like K through 12 school, there's not much you can do other than sit with your own thoughts. Yeah, that's where the story is. His thoughts. Because this guy is just an Olympic level of mental gymnast. Sawyer constantly just going through his own head, thinking about why it's justified for him to kill his friends because he doesn't want Manny to get them. He doesn't want Manny to kill his friends and his friends' family. But if he just goes and kills just his friends, their families would be spared the death of the whole family. He's a hero in his own head. That goes into this mental degradation of this poor child when he was a little bit younger, like I would say like preteens, maybe. I think they said that they had found Manny about 3 to 4 years ago. I forget the exact number. When they had found Manny, a bunch of bad stuff happened to Sawyer because his parents almost got a divorce, and then his dad got into a major accident on his motorcycle, and then Shauna's parents split up and she had to go to therapy. And I'm like wondering if them pulling out Manny from where Manny was and just kind of interacting with this inanimate object was actually like bringing up a bunch of trauma that Sawyer wasn't ready to deal with. And it was just kind of pushing him more and more off the edge because Sawyer was still not medicated. And honestly, this whole thing is pretty sad. Like, it's sad. The ending is sad, especially it's just some kid. He at the end he was just kind of waiting for someone to bring him where his friends were. But I mean, obviously he's the one who put them there. It feels like he just didn't want to grow up, and this was not the way to do it. This was the one thing that his mind said, that's the way to do it. That's the right way to go. It was an amazing read, honestly. Like, genuinely. It's a good read, especially if you're interested in looking into that kind of mentality. I don't know how Stephen Graham Jones does it, but it was very interesting. I give it a 5 out of 5, personally. Me. I will be looking more deeply into Stephen Graham Jones's book, now currently more interested than ever because this one was such an easy read. It was super enjoyable. So, hey, like, comment, and subscribe. You'll see a lot more of me here than you will on Twitch, that's for sure. That's what YouTubers say, right? Like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications. I don't know, I'm not a YouTuber. Well, I am now. That's all from me. Bye-bye, YouTube. Have a good day. Goodbye, goodbye. I couldn't find a good place for this in the video, but it's good for this end card here. Sawyer literally says, in AP English, that would be passive voice, which erases agency and hides the actual doer of the thing, which is... I thought it was really funny that an English professor is trying to teach us English in a book that is about something else entirely. Thank you, Professor Jones. I appreciate you.